Whereas if I consider intermediate range plan, what it includes? Intermediate range, as I told you already, it covers next 2 months period to 12 months period, up to 1 year. What decisions you will take in intermediate range? Employment. How many workers are needed? Okay. Next 2 months to 1 year period. Is there any increase in the human resources? If so, you have to plan for recruitment, isn't it? And also, what is the output you are expecting? How much quantity you are going to produce in the next 2 months to 12 months period? Okay. Are you going to produce 500 products or 1,000 products? What is your capacity? What is your plan? That you are going to decide here. Accordingly, you are going to take a decision upon the inventory. Inventory means it can be raw material inventory or it can be finished goods inventory. How much inventory you have to maintain? How much raw material stock I should have? Okay, how much finished goods I would have as a stock to meet the sudden demands? All these decisions will be taken in intermediate plan. So this is what the aggregate planning we are discussing. Intermediate range is always aggregate plan. The next one is the long range plans. In the long range plan, we always think about the long-term capacity. That means next after 1 year, maybe up to 5 years or even beyond that. Is there any plan to expand your plant? That means, are you going to purchase new machinery? Are you going to construct a new building to increase your capacities? What is your long-term plan? That will come here. So long-term capacity, right now you have only 50 machines on the shop floor. Maybe in the next 5 years, what is your vision? Are you going to expand your mission capacity to 100 missions or 150 missions? What is your plan? So that is long-term capacity. Similarly, location and layout. In the next 5 years, are you going to expand your industry in other cities as well? Are you going to have sub-units of your industry? You are located in Hyderabad, let us say. You may be going to open another unit of your industry in Warangal or maybe in Nalgonda or somewhere. So what is your plan in the next 5 years? Okay. And layout, you should also prepare the layout, keeping the future expansion in view. Okay. You cannot occupy the entire floor space available because the free space is there. You need to arrange the missions in a systematic order so that in the future expansion, you are able to accommodate the new missions as well. So all these things will be decided in the long range plan. So there is a short range plan, which is for immediate decisions. From today to next 2 months, which job is assigned on which mission and at what time on which date. Intermediate range, it tells about your employment requirement. You need to plan for that. If you need additional labor, you need to plan for that. You need to recruit. And also intermediate plan covers in the first 1 year, how much is the output you are targeting? For that, how much inventory you have to maintain? These things are taken care in the intermediate range plan. In the long range plan, you are always thinking about expansion of your capacities. Okay, it can be machinery or it can be the location, the new plant you are going to start. And within the plant also the layout, keeping the future demand in view, you have to arrange the missions. So right now we are going to discuss about the aggregate planning, which falls in intermediate range. Am I clear the difference between these three?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So let us start the aggregate planning. What is the overview of this? Aggregate planning always begins with the forecast of aggregate demand. Maybe in the earlier classes, in the beginning classes also, I told you about forecast. Forecast can be of different types. Forecast is nothing but predicting the future demand. Okay. So this forecast can be based on the statistics you have in the previous years. You can guess what could be the demand for the next year because you know the trend of the demand of your product. So the next year demand you can guess definitely. Sometimes if your plant is a new one, you don't have the historical data with you. Then how to estimate the forecast? Then you will be taking the help of the experts from different fields, expert from marketing, expert from production, expert from finance, and we apply a Delphi technique there, wherein we take the opinions of every people, we consolidate them and circulate the decisions to everyone again, because marketing person may not be having the insights of production people, and production person may not have the insight about finance person, isn't it? So all the opinions are consolidated and recirculated again to every member. So this process is done till there is a consensus or till there is a convergence among all the members, and all of them will agree for a common number. Let us suppose that the next year the demand could be 1,000 products. Till that conclusion is arrived, we go on conduct the Delphi technique. It is a brainstorming session. So somehow we try to predict the forecast. So aggregate planning actually begins with forecasting the aggregate demand for intermediate range. In the next 1 year, what is going to be the demand? Now, this is followed by a general plan to meet the demand requirements by setting output, employment, and finished goods inventory. So as a second step, forecast is the first step. As a second step, you are going to develop a plan. What for? You are going to set the output now. Okay, 1,000 products is the demand. So we need to meet the demand. So our target output is 1,000. So for meeting 1,000 output, how many employees we need? Okay, how much inventory we have to maintain? It can be finished goods inventory or it can be raw material inventory. All these decisions will come based on the forecast. Next, managers must consider number of plans, each of which must be examined in light of feasibility and cost. In order to meet this demand, you can have n number of plans, n number of strategies. So this manager should develop all those strategies or the plans and evaluate each plan. Evaluate based on what? Based on the feasibility and the cost. Can we really make 1,000 products? Is it feasible? Okay. And if so, what is the cost we are going to incur? Are we ready to invest so much capital? Okay. So all these things will be evaluated. Okay. And aggregated plans are updated periodically, often monthly. See, for the next 1 year, you have prepared aggregate plan. In each month, how much you have to produce, how many labor are required, all those things you have prepared for 1 year. But every month you have to review that. If the things are going wrong, then you have to update it periodically, once in a month. Okay? Because in the real time, the forecast, whatever you have made, that may not be in line with the actual demand. So actual demand is different. Then you have to update your plan accordingly. Now, there are several inputs for aggregate plan. What are the inputs of this aggregate plan? The major inputs, I can say 4. First one is resources. Second one, demand forecast. Third one, policies. And fourth one, costs. We are going to discuss one after the other. What is the first input? Resources. For any aggregate planning, input is workforce and facilities and equipment. Okay, so that means workforce means how many labor you need to meet the output, and how many facilities, that is the machineries or the equipment are needed. These are the resources. Okay, next, another input is demand forecast. As we discussed just now, always there is a forecast. It can be, forecast can be quantitative or qualitative. Quantitative forecast in the sense, when you have historical data of the previous years, you can predict the future demand, next year demand. That is called as quantitative technique. When you don't have the historical data, you will be based upon qualitative technique, like a Delphi technique, whatever I told you. That is called as a qualitative. You are taking the inputs from intellectuals and then coming to a conclusion. The next year, this could be the probable demand. That is qualitative. So Forecast is another input for aggregate plan. The third input for aggregate plan is policies. What are these policies? Policies can be subcontracting. Don't think that the industry manufactures all the components required for a particular product. Sometimes it can subcontract few components to other ancillary unit. Ancillary unit is the one which is actually established to supply components to a major industry. BHEL is there. BHEL is well known for making turbines, heat exchangers, compressors. But only to supply components to BHEL, there are a number of ancillary units established around. If you look at Hyderabad BHEL itself, near Patancheru, you will have large number of ancillary unit which supplies small components for assembling a turbine to the BHEL. BHEL don't manufacture all the components. Okay, BHEL accepts the order from the customers. Okay, once it accepts the orders from the customers, it will subcontract some of the work to other ancillary units. Those ancillary units will supply the components, and finally assembly is done at BHEL. So what is that policy you are going to follow? Are we going to manufacture everything in our industry, or are we going to subcontract? So why these policies are coming? These policies are coming only to meet the demand and supply the goods to the customer on time. You have to supply whatever the date you have promised to the customer. By the date you are supposed to supply the goods. Okay, so at any cost. So for that, what are the strategies you have? If you on your own, if you manufacture each and every small component, it takes a lot of time. So to save time, what we do, we subcontract some work to others. So that is one policy. Other policy is overtime. Your industry is having a policy like workers can do overtime. When they do overtime, you have to pay extra. Okay. So all these things we do only to meet the demand. Next, inventory levels. What is that policy you have? Okay, I will manufacture more excess number of products and maintain them as a stock so that I can meet the sudden demands whenever there is an order from the customer. So do you have such type of strategy? And then back orders. This is another type of policy. Back order means, suppose the customer has given an order to you today, but you will start manufacturing and you will deliver the goods maybe after 6 months. That means orders are accepted in one period. Delivery is made at a later period. This is called as a back order. That means you are pushing the order or you are delaying the order by some period. This works out only if the customer is willing. Customer should be willing. Otherwise, he will not accept. Customer don't have any urgency. And customer is having confidence on you. That means you are the only industry which gives a quality product. So he don't mind waiting for a longer period. So in such a case, you will push the order for later periods. This is back order. Why we are supposed to do this back order means already you are having enough orders on hand. You cannot handle all at a time, isn't it? So forcibly you have to delay few orders. So that is called as back orders. This can be one policy of an industry.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Suppose if a customer made an order, it will be, we have said that our company, it will be delivered in next 6 months.
Yeah.
What if it takes 6 months to manufacture? We can't delay that order, no, sir. If we have more orders in hand. For
more orders in hand.
Yes,
you
sir.
mean to say the product itself takes 6 months for manufacturing?
Yes, sir. Machines are engaged. Machines are engaged with some other work, but we have promised to deliver it by next 6 months. But it takes 6 months to manufacture. How we can order? How we can push this back order then?
Right. See, every company has the plan. Let us suppose that whatever the current orders are there on hand, they take 6 months period to complete. Okay. We know very well how many man hours are required, how many mission hours are required to make the complete the existing orders, isn't it?
Yes,
So
sir.
assume that they are taking 6 months period. Okay. Now a new customer has arrived and he want to place an order. So before accepting the order itself, you are going to tell him that for the next 6 months, I am busy. I have enough orders on hand. I can start manufacturing your product only after 6 months. And your product may take 1 month period to complete, let us say. So by 7th month, I can deliver. If it is acceptable for you, then only I can take the order. That's the reason why I told you the customer should be willing.
Yes, sir.
Only when the customer is willing, then only you can push this order. And how you are going to promise the date? Because you know very well on hand how many products you have. Okay. And how many man hours and mission hours they are going to take to complete. You have a perfect calculation with you.
Yes, sir.
Only the next possible date you are going to promise. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. And don't think that every industry follows all these policies. It can be 1 or 4. An industry can follow only one of these policies, or it can follow all the 4. It all depends upon the type of the industry which is dealing with.
Okay, sir.
And then the other input is the cost. This is another one more input to the aggregate planning. What are the costs? Inventory carrying cost. So if I store raw material per unit time, how much I am going to incur, how much expenditure I am going to incur, that estimation you should have. And cost, back orders cost, because you are delaying the customer order. Okay, you may have to sometimes offer a discount to the customer to make him accept your proposal. Okay, actually, you may be charging, let us say, 5 lakh rupees for the product if you start it immediately. But because you are pushing it backwards, you may be giving an offer to the customer. If you are willing to wait for 6 months, I can deliver this product at 4.5 lakhs only. That means 50,000. You are reducing. That is a cost for you. You are going to lose that amount, isn't it? You don't want to lose the order. So with minimum profit, you want to retain the order. So thereby you are losing some profit. So cost towards back order. Not only that, sometimes some customers may not order the product to you because you said that I can deliver only after 6 months. Customer may not be willing to give order to you. Okay. So you are losing orders. Thereby you are losing profits. That's a loss for you, isn't it? You are foregoing some profit. So all that you need to consider, that is a cost towards back orders. Next, hiring and firing. This is towards workforce. Suppose this month you want to recruit 10 people, 10 workers you want to hire. See, whenever you want, workers may or may not be available. You may be giving advertisement, or you may be utilizing the services of consultancy to hire people on an urgent basis. When you ask for workforce on an urgent basis, they demand salary more. You don't get at a lesser salary. Okay, so you have to be prepared for that. So sometimes hiring an urgency will also cost you the cost towards advertisement, the cost towards maybe high salaries demand, and also you may incur cost towards firing. Suppose if you are removing a worker from the job, as per the labor law, you cannot fire a person just like that in a day. So if you are firing a person, you may have to give 1 month's salary to him and then send him away. Okay. So even firing also costs something to you, additional cost that you have to bear. And then overtime, this is also one more cost. Suppose industry is working for 2 shifts, like morning 8 to evening 8 and evening 8 to morning 8, 2 shifts. Suppose if you are engaging a worker for the 2nd shift, Morning he has worked for 12 hours. And again, you are engaging him for the night shift. You have to pay double. Double in the sense, per day his salary is 300 means for overtime you have to pay 600. Altogether 900 you are supposed to pay. So overtime also costs you. And then subcontracting. Subcontracting will also cost you something, because on your own, if you are manufacturing, you may be able to do that at a lesser cost. But when you are subcontracting to somebody, he will add his profit and then only he will sell it to you. So there you are losing some profit to you of yours. So subcontracting will also cost you. So these are all the different inputs before you actually prepare an aggregate plan. Resources, forecast, policies, and the costs. Am I clear? Yeah, there is a question here. Can we reduce back orders by subcontracting, giving the project to their partner industry and offering them to some share? Good. It's a good question. Yeah, Manivannan, here the question is the ancillary units, whatever you have, they have the capacity to produce the components, not the product as a whole. Okay. They cannot manufacture the entire product. There is no other industry like BHEL in the same place, isn't it? BHEL cannot take the order and give that order to same another different type of industry producing turbines again. They don't do that way. Otherwise, customers, they themselves will go to the other industry, isn't it? So they are capable of producing ancillary units to whom you are subcontracting. You are giving only a partial work to develop some components. Ultimately, they supply those components to you. You have to do the assembly along with the major subparts you are producing at your industry. Okay? Right. Right. The next one, what are the outputs of aggregate planning? The output is you will be getting the total cost of the plan. For the next 1 year, you are going to tell about the total cost. Okay. And then there is another question. But overtime helps the order to complete fastly. The profit made by completing the order is more compared to the wages paid by overtime. So they will need to consider it as a cost. But overtime helps order to complete fastly. The profit made by the completing order is more compared to wages paid by the overtime. Yeah. See, when we go for overtime, normally means, see, in the initial plan, you don't have the overtime concept. Okay. Overtime comes when you have already promised a date to the customer. Okay. You promised that by the end of September, on 30th September, I'm going to deliver the goods. But by 20th September, you realized that you may not be able to complete the task. Hardly you have 10 days more, and you may not be able to complete the task. Okay. Then you will plan for overtime. Why? See, you cannot delay delivery of the goods for another week or 10 days because you are unable to complete. If you do so, what happens? He's a regular customer. Next time he won't give the order to you. You will lose that customer permanently. You don't want to lose that customer. So what you are trying to do at any cost, you want to deliver the goods on the promised date to the customer. To do so, you have to use your workforce for more time. So you will be engaging your workers for overtime, right? When you engage them for overtime, maybe your profit will marginally reduce, but on time you are going to deliver the goods to the customer. And next time the customer is willing to give more and more number of orders to you. In a long run, it benefits to you. Okay. So by giving overtime here, slightly you are reducing your marginal profit. Yeah, there is another question. In few cases, if a company is lagging modern technology and got an urgent project, can they rent machinery for a particular time or pass on their project to other company? Do rent cost more? Yes, this is also possible. If there is a facility of availing or rental missions, then definitely we can do so. The company is ready to do so. Okay. Because it is lagging with the modern technology. Or there can be another way. Few companies acts like consultants. They take the order from the customer and they pass on this order to somebody else. Okay. So what they share a marginal profit here, because they are taking this. We normally see even in our day-to-day works as well. In a day-to-day fabrication units, even if you take a fabrication units, a particular fabrication unit is getting more and more number of orders. Okay, but because of the confidence customers are having on him, but he is unable to process all those products, then what he will do, if he has another resource, let us say, if he is confident about any other fabrication unit which he knows, maybe within the same city or in another city, okay, he can have a deal with them and he can divert this order to that person. Customer is not knowing about the second fabrication unit. Customer knows about only this unit. So taking that advantage, this fabrication unit, what it will do, it may divert this order to somebody else. Okay, thereby, by doing so, they will also gain some money because in between they are acting like a middleman. So ultimately, the product will be delivered through this first person himself, not from the second person. Final delivery is from the first person because first person is taking the whole responsibility or the warranty for the product. He can do so only when he has confidence on the second fabrication unit, which he knows. Or he can take the rent. He can take a mission on a rent, engage a worker on a temporary basis, and can meet the order. Both ways it is possible. Understood, I hope. Yeah. What are the outputs then of aggregate planning? Output can be total cost of the plan. Okay, towards salaries of the labor, towards the mission hours we are using, towards the raw material, everything, total cost of the plan. And the quantities, that is projected levels of inventory, how much inventory you are going to maintain, inventory of raw material, inventory of semi-finished goods, inventory of finished goods, everything numbers you will be knowing at the end of the aggregate plan. And then output, how much is the output by the end of second month, by the end of third month, by the end of 12th month, you are able to tell about the outputs. And how many labor are engaged or how many managers are engaged in this activity. You're able to tell about that. Yeah. And you are sure about the subcontracting, how much quantity you are going to subcontract. And you are also tell about the numbers of back orders, how many orders you are pushing forward or you are delaying. All these numbers will be the output of the aggregate plan. Now, let us come to the strategies. Aggregate planning strategies, we say. There are three different types of strategies. The first one is proactive strategy. Proactive strategy means it involves always the demand options. So it's an attempt to alter demand to match capacity. You know very well, you have only 50 machines on the shop floor. Okay. But the demand is not matching with this capacity, let us say. 50 machines can produce, let us say, in a month, they can develop 1,000 products. They can produce 1,000 products. 50 machines produce 1,000 products in a month. But your demand is 1,500. Okay. So in proactive approach, what we do, we try to alter demand to match capacity. That means whatever the capacity you have, only this much capacity only you are able to produce. But you are attempting to alter demand. You have to change the demand. You have to distribute the demand. Okay, here overtime will also come. So far, your industry is working only 8 hours a day. But now let us work for 10 hours or 12 hours a day. Okay, so that whatever the capacities we have, using those capacities only, we try to meet the demand. That's what proactive strategy means. So if you need, we will be engaging man hours extra. There is another approach, a reactive approach. It involves capacity options. It always attempt to alter capacity to match demand. Whatever the demand you have, according to the demand, you are going to alter your capacities. The capacities can be missions or workers. You are going to increase the workers or you are going to decrease the workers. So reactive strategy is always changing the capacities according to the demand. Mixed strategy is the combination of the above two. Let us see some examples of these things now. I am taking the first one, involving demand options. This is the first strategy, the demand options, okay, which is a proactive strategy. Demand options, we have 4 different types of approaches. What they are: pricing, promotion, back order, new demand. These are the 4 demand options we have. Let us understand one after the other what they mean by that. Pricing. So here, one thing you should be clear, demand option means, what I'm trying to do, we are altering the demand to match capacity. You are not changing the capacity. Capacity is same. You are not changing. Only you are changing the demand pattern. How? The first one, if you take pricing. Among the 4, the first one is pricing. I will take some example. Say pricing differential are commonly used to shift demand from peak periods to off-peak periods. How? For example, some hotels, they offer lower rates for weekend stays. If you are considering a star hotel, let us say 3-star hotel or 5-star hotel, normally Monday to Friday, it may be very difficult to get the rooms because number of business people, they book the rooms for their business purposes, isn't it? So they stay in the hotel rooms. So Monday to Friday, it is very hard to get the room in a metropolitan city, let us say. But during weekends, so Saturday, Sundays, there is no business. Okay, people may not be traveling and they don't require any rooms in the hotel. So every day, let us suppose that there are 100 rooms in that hotel. During weekdays, all the 100 rooms will be full. But during weekends, Saturdays and Sundays, maybe only 50 rooms are being booked. Only whomever is coming for maybe recreation purpose or some other sightseeing purpose, they may be booking the rooms. But there is no business during the weekends. Now here, that hotel may have a strategy to offer lower rates during the weekend stays. Suppose on Saturday, Sunday, if you book the room, the rates are low compared to the weekdays. Then this may be attractive for some business people to shift their business meetings. If other person is also accepting, they may shift their business meetings towards the weekends. Okay, so thereby they are availing the facility of lower prices during the weekends. Thereby, instead of 50 rooms, even during the weekends, 80 or 90 rooms may be booked. This may be one strategy of a hotel. Similarly, airlines. Some of the airlines, they offer lower fare for night travel. At night 1 o'clock, if you travel, your ticket cost may come down to 3,000 rupees. Otherwise, in daytime, it has 10,000 rupees or 8,000 rupees. But during night travel, the cost may come down to 3,000 rupees. Few people may accept it because normally people won't travel in the midnights from one city to another city because they may land up in the other city at midnight, 3 o'clock, let us say. At 3 o'clock, where he will go? Proper transportation facility may or may not be available. So they don't, and they get a disturbed sleep in the night. So because of that, normally they don't prefer to travel in the night hours. But if the price is attractive, if there is a much difference in the pricing, daytime 10,000 rupees, midnight only 3,000 rupees. If it is so attractive, then people may try to prefer midnight travel as well. So all the seats in the airplane may get filled. That can be another strategy. So what we are trying to do here, we are shifting the demand. If everybody want to travel in the daytime itself, you may not be able to cater to the needs of all the people, because your company is having limited number of flights, only 10 flights you have. So these 10 flights are unable to meet the demand of all the people, because the same flight have to go from Hyderabad to Calcutta and again come back from Calcutta to Hyderabad. Again, they have to go for the second trip. So with the limited number of flights you have, you may not be able to meet the demand of the public. So in that way, what they are trying to do, so even in the night time also, they are allowing the flights to fly. And if the pricing is attractive, then the people may travel in the nights also. So without changing the capacity, by shifting the demand to different periods, you are able to meet the demand whatever you have. I hope you understood. Similarly, movie theaters may offer reduced rates for matinees. Matinee show, because working day, Monday to Friday, it's a working day for offices. Even for schools and colleges, it's working. So generally matinees are not preferred by these people. So maybe to attract other common people or the public, matinee show prices may be reduced. Of course, this is not the case. This is not the trend now. Irrespective of the show, our people will be there always, houseful anytime, isn't it? So, of course, this is a typical example. It's quoted, but it's not happening practically. So theaters may reduce prices for the matinee shows to create more demand. Similarly, restaurants, particularly if you see restaurants in weekends, maybe on Saturday or Sundays, more and more number of people will be coming for dinner. 7:30, 8 o'clock it starts. And in some hotels, people have to wait for the tables. So hotel is unable to cater to the needs of all the people within the time. And at the same time, it don't want to lose the customers. So what strategy it can adopt? Some restaurants offer special menus to shift some of the heavier dinner demand to an earlier time that traditionally has less traffic. Evening 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, there is very, very less traffic in hotels. Normally, you don't see many people evening 5:30 or 6 o'clock. But during that time, if you arrange for some special snacks at a very attractive price, those who are actually coming from dinner, they may shift their visit to the hotel to an early time. Maybe at 5:30, 6 o'clock, they may come. They can taste the variety of the snacks. Okay, they can have a heavy dinner, but much early. So this is only to handle number of people, hundreds of people coming to the hotel only during night time. So we are shifting the demand to other periods. Am I clear? What do you mean by pricing? Yes?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Now, here, if the pricing is effective, then only the demand will be shifted. Suppose if you are reducing 5 rupees or 10 rupees, nobody will prefer. They come for their own, they come with their own convenient time. The pricing should be very effective. Then only you can shift the demand to other periods. Similarly, an important factor to consider is the degree of price elasticity of demand. Price elasticity of demand. The more the elasticity, the more effective pricing will be in the demand pattern. That means how much elasticity you have in the pricing. Suppose you are offering a product for a price of 100 rupees. Okay, but actual cost you are going to incur for making it is 20 rupees. That means 80 rupees profit you have, 80 rupees margin you have. You are selling the product at 100 rupees, but your making charges are only 20 rupees. Okay, now when you are trying to shift the demand to other time, suppose instead of dinner, you want to shift the demand to evening hours. At 6 o'clock, if you offer the same product for a price of, let us say, 50 rupees, then it is attractive to the customer. He's saving 50 rupees. Instead of 100, he's spending only 50 rupees. But at the same time, you are not losing profit much. So you're also still earning 30 rupees profit. Your actual production is 30. And you are adding 30 profit. Still, you are able to gain 50. But if you come down 50, that means if you are offering at 40 rupees, you may not be able to make the break even. Break even in the sense, see, the additional 20 rupees is kept for salaries towards the workers. You have to meet salaries also, isn't it? So you have to check that way. So when can you considerably reduce the price means when the price elasticity is more. That means when the profit margin is more, then only you can reduce the price to much extent. Are you clear?
Excuse me, sir.
Right. Yeah.
What techniques do they follow, sir, for maintaining a balance between profit and reducing price? How they will decide this?
They always check the break even.
Okay, sir.
How much is the salary they are giving for the worker? How much investment they have made on the equipment? Okay, the investment must be divided among the products, number of products that you produce.
Yes.
Similarly, that should be divided among the salaries of towards the worker. Based on that only. Similarly, another example I can quote here is, suppose you are back ordering. That means you are pushing the order for the next 6 months, let us say. And in order to make the customer to wait for another 6 months, you are able to give an attractive pricing. Let us suppose that instead of 5 lakhs, charge whatever you are going to demand for the immediate production, you are demanding only 4 lakhs after 6 months. That means 1 lakh customer is saving. So if the price is so attractive, then he don't mind wait for a longer period unless he has urgency. So that's what pricing should have good elasticity. So when you have good elasticity, then only you can offer better pricing so that you can attract the customer. The second one is the second demand option, promotion. Okay, I think we have 3 more options that we discuss. Before going to that, let me give a poll question to you. I am launching a poll. Within a couple of minutes, all of you try to attempt this. Last 20 seconds. Okay. I'm ending the poll. I'll share the results to you. Now here, an attempt to alter capacity to match demand in aggregate planning is called as proactive strategy, reactive strategy, mixed strategy. What is the answer? Yeah? Is it proactive
Reactive.
or reactive or mixed?
Reactive.
Reactive, sir.
strategy.
Capacity.
We are changing the capacity here. When you change the capacity, that is called as reactive strategy. When you change the demand,
Proactive.
that is called as proactive strategy. So the answer for this is reactive strategy. The second one is aggregate planning is an intermediate plan, right? Okay. So in the next class, I shall discuss about the remaining demand options. Okay. So in the demand options, we discussed only pricing today. Tomorrow we will discuss promotion, back orders, new demand, and other reactive strategies as well. Okay, I will share the last topic of the second unit as well as this third unit on Canvas today. Okay, any other doubts you have? Any other doubts? Okay, let me stop here then. Good day.
Sir.
Yeah.
Sir, whether our AMS results were shared in our Canvas?
No, not yet. I will share that.
So it was so long. When
Yeah.
asking
I
about
will
that.
share that. I will share that because I
Okay,
was held up in the university works.
Yes, sir.
Actually, I could not do that, but I
Yes.
will share that at the earliest. Okay.
Sure.
Give
Thank
me
you, sir.
time
Thank you so
till
much.
this
Thank
week because towards this weekend, I have a number of university works to do. So because of that only, it was kept pending. I will do that by
Okay,
this
sir.
weekend. I will finish it.
Okay. Okay, sir.
Right.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.